special folks, Maria, Jackson, come make your way up here. Yeah, we don't need you in the corner. All right. Okay. Wow. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. This is incredible. This is YPN's 4th event, and we could not be more thrilled with the response and enthusiasm that has that we've received. My name is Alexandra George. I am the managing broker at the Roaring Fork Club and also part of YPN. YPN is a group focused on providing relevant content and shorting the learning curve that is often associated with being newer in an industry. So, and this industry is specifically real estate. I would like to take a few moments to say a few thank yous. First, to the Timbers Club and you, Cory. Thank you so much. This is amazing. Not only is this the best venue that we've had, this is the best food we've had. So,
she cooked it.
Yeah, right? 2 great things. So, calling dibs on her for hiring out next time. Thank you. And Amy, thank you.
Yes.
Next, thank you. Next, I'd like to thank Maria, Nicole, and Lacey at the Aspen Board of Realtors. They really make all of this possible. Maria, thank you. We couldn't do this without you. And finally, to this lovely panel, we have Ypn Skoric with Aspen Snowmass Village. Peter Groegen with East West. And Miss Cory Didier with Aspen Snowmass Village. Right? Snowmass Village sandwich. And okay, I'd like to start with just a quick show of hands. Who in the room has ever asked the following, one of the following questions? Feel free to keep your hands up. What is fractional real estate? What are the advantages of fractional real estate? Why buy this product over traditional property? And what are the rules? Those are just a few of the questions I hope to address and get some answers and clarity on this evening. So, without further ado, I'd like to start by having our panel introduce themselves and share with us how they got to this seat this evening. So, if you would, Cory.
Okay, sure. So I worked for Timbers Resorts, who was the original developer of the Timbers Club. I worked for them for 12 years based out of their Carbondale office, selling their fractional product around the world. So from Italy to St. Thomas to Phoenix, I was their Carbondale sales representative. So I did nothing but fractionals until I entered the general real estate community 3 years ago now. And now I have the opportunity to work here again, along with Amy Feldman. So I do a little bit of fractional and our general real estate market, which I think there's a good amount of crossover, which I hope to share with you tonight, that I think fractionals are a great way to get your clients here and interested and committed to the Snowmass market, and then they go on and purchase bigger, better homes with you beyond owning at the club.
Oh, that's great. So how long has the Valley been home?
15 years.
Okay, 15 years. Great. And Peter?
All right, so I'm Pete Groegen. I work with East West Partners. Got some of our crew in the room as well. If you don't know them, get to know them. They're great. And I was fortunate enough to move over to the Valley about January 1st of 2017. And so I was over in the other valley, over there with the highway running through it. Before that, working with East West Partners. And so glad to be over here. I was fortunate to be part of the team to help kick off the Snowmass Village project as the project CFO, and I've been managing this undertaking of fractional residences, which is something that as a company, East West has done a lot of. We did it a lot in Tahoe, we've done it in Colorado, but we haven't done it since the downturn. And so this is a kind of new foray back into that, and we're pretty excited about it because we really do think that, you know, Timbers is a great example, Snowmass Club is an example, the W is an example, Dancing Bear. This market is a perfect market for fractional residences, and it is a great way to get people in at a more affordable number, and we can talk a lot more about all that. So, thanks.
Great. Thank you, Peter. And last but not least, Ivan.
So what do I start with? So I started with the Ritz Carlton back in August of 2002, when it was the actual first fractional product that was in this marketplace, and kind of, you know, cutting its teeth and how this whole thing works. I came out to Aspen about 25 years ago for a hike and a glass of wine, and my hair was down to here, and I never left. But when I got into the real estate market, the Ritz had just been around for about 6 to 8 months, and I got my license, didn't know what I was going to do, and then happened to be in a CMC at a course for real estate licensing. The project director for the Ritz was in that classroom and was taking some state requirements, and then started mentioning what he did, and I was like, it's a product form within a product form. And I said, well, I did a lot of different sales in the past, so I went over to them, and I've been doing that, you know, now for 18 years. The point that Cory makes is poignant. In the first or second year when I was there, I would try to go around into brokerage houses trying to communicate what fractionals about. And of course, everybody just, you know, poo-pooing and dinging it, and you know, you're this thing and that thing. And I would say, you know, how many people here have a client they've been talking to for the last few years who come out for 1 week in the summer, and you're trying to sell them a $4 million condo, and they go home, and you never see them again until next year, and then next year you do the same silly thing, and it's not that they're, like I've always said, we're not selling real estate, we're selling a way for them to be in Aspen more. And the fraction in my mind was, you know, can they afford the $3 million? Can they afford the $1 million? Now can they afford the $6 million? Probably, but they just can't justify it for what they're doing. And I saw that the fractional product was someone who wasn't really sure they wanted to be here, and all of a sudden they're here for 2 weeks, and not just on food and wine, and not just on 4th of July, or not just on President's Week, and then all of a sudden they're out here at this time of year going, holy mackerel, how beautiful is this? Or being in at a different time. And members would buy, and when I was working with them, I'd say, you know, based on how many memberships you own, because some members own more than one because they come off more often. But when people start getting here 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks a year, and year after year, it's like, you know, I'm not gonna say I'm a pusher, but they get addicted to this area. I mean, I came out for a weekend, I never left. I go, this is why I'm here. And I'm just showing you the way, I mean, if you're gonna come to Aspen, you gotta stay somewhere. Nothing's for free. Someone's gonna take care of you. And here's an option, right? So, and then the transitional part, some people, it took, you know, not that I tried, but I just kept putting it out in front of them. You know, sometimes it was 2 years, sometimes it was 6 years. Today I spent all day in Aspen Glen with a person I've known for 15 years that's gonna buy a home this coming week. But eventually they get to that point. So there is a big transition. I mean, I probably sold 8 townhomes up in Highlands Village just because they're right next to the Ritz, and they get the Highlands, you know. So anyways, I've been at the Ritz since 2002. I've been a broker with Sotheby's for the last 4 years. I have an office in the Ritz Carlton, and I came from New York, and just, you know, literally just it's all about Aspen and of course Snowmass. The fractional product, if you're a broker and just in sales 101, don't ever sell against anything, because then it's no longer an option to talk about. If you are trying to gain credibility with a client, and they say fractional, and you go, oh, you don't want to do that, and they don't buy, well, you can say, let's talk about it. Because if they get in here for 200, 300, 500, whatever the number is, versus 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, and all of a sudden, 3 years later, like, you know, we really gotta be here. You're the one that they're gonna be working with. And not everybody's ready to justify a multi-million-dollar investment for typically 3 to 4 weeks of years. Anyways, I'll stop ranting.
I don't like to put labels on things, but it sounds a bit like a gateway drug.
Yeah.
It's you know, being at the Ritz, I used to tell people, why are you here? As nobody flew to Aspen because the Ritz-Carlton's there. They came to the Ritz-Carlton because it's in Aspen. That's it. And it's the same no matter where you are, so.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right.
Why say in 5 words when you can say in 50?
Okay, so as I mentioned, if we could keep our responses to the next few questions, no, I really appreciate your response.
The lights on, so.
To about 3 minutes, and I hope that you all will piggyback on each other's answers. All right. So my first real question is, who is your customer? And you have addressed that, but if anyone wants to add kind of to that. And is there a formula that makes someone a great candidate for what you have to offer in terms of your product? Does anyone want to take the lead on who?
I'm happy to start. So we are, just as a means of background, over at the Base Village project, we have a component of that that's called One Snowmass. And so we're getting ready to deliver the first building there this month and close those first residences. Those are whole ownership residences. We also, in that project, have another building that's coming in January, and that building has both whole and fractional residences in it. And so when we're talking about our customer is definitely somebody who's interested in Snowmass first and foremost, and someone who loves Snowmass, loves the ski hill, and loves everything that this place offers. And beyond that, it's been talked about a little bit, where the average whole ownership residence in One Snowmass is $3.5 million. They're absolutely beautiful residences. Amazing. If you haven't been in, go check them out. And not everyone either can get to that price point or wants to get to that price point in terms of putting $3.5 million into a vacation home. And so the fractional component, and we're doing a 1/15th share, where in one of the things that we'll talk about is, I'm sure there are all kinds of different ways you can structure a fractional residence. And really the main difference between a fractional and a timeshare is a deed. Fractional has a deed, a timeshare doesn't, and then usually fractional moves in the direction of closer to whole ownership, whereas a timeshare would be like a 1/52nd. And so I'll wrap up quickly, but price point is what allows people to get into Snowmass where they could not be in a new residence in any other way. And so that's really what it's all about, and it opens up a whole new market of buyers to us.
I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
How does the fractional price compare to a whole ownership price in terms of value? Often, I know at the Roaring Fork Club, our fractionals have never equated to what a whole ownership offering is. So I don't know if you can speak to that.
Yeah, so if you think about it, we're selling a 15th share where there's one, we'll get into it, but we're selling a 15th share, and the average 15th share is $300,000, whereas, you know, if you just multiply that by 15, you're above $3.5 million, and so there's a little bit of a premium on a per square foot basis for fractional residences, but on an absolute basis, we're selling 2 bedrooms as low as $120,000, and on average, a 2 bedroom is $200,000, a 3 bedroom is $300,000, and a 4 bedroom is $450,000. And so those are just numbers you can't get anywhere near with our new product.
That leads well into my second question. What do you are paying somewhat of a premium? What amenities, you know, it's definitely turnkey. What amenities do you have that maybe you don't have as a whole ownership?
So, I mean, we've tried to make it so that the fractional and whole ownership experience is really comparable, and that's to the finish level and to just the overall experience from the time you show up at the airport in Aspen. And so, you know, the transportation, we have an amazing spa pool that looks out over Mount Daly from the rooftop of the building that we're delivering in January. There's a fitness center, and a lot of the things that we have as amenities, and we'll talk about dues, but you know, there are a lot of amenities in fractional projects that make the dues quite high. And we've tried to pull some of those quote unquote amenities out because we're in the middle of a village, and if you want breakfast, you go downstairs to Juice. And they're one of our tenants that's coming in from Aspen. And so it's something that you don't have to have a specific residence, we don't think anymore, a specific restaurant for the fractional experience. And that way you don't have to subsidize it with the dues as well. So I would say our amenities are almost the exact same. Yeah.
And one last question. If I was not to take my 115, can I lease it back or rent it out?
Yeah, so with the program that we have, you have one fixed winter week, and that's kind of what you're buying during the ski season. Snowmass is a pretty ski forward market, and then we have flex time around that. And so you can rent in our program, you can rent your one fixed winter week. And so if you bought Christmas week and you didn't want to use it that year, you could rent that out and offset probably over a year's worth of dues. But you can't rent the flex time because we're trying to cultivate owners actually using it and being here. And you know, as Cory or Ypn can tell you, I mean, these properties get used by the owners, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and a couple things just to piggyback off of what Pete was saying is that I do think a fractional buyer is really amenity driven. So here at the Timbers Club, we provide transportation to take you to ski at Aspen, to take you to dinner at night, a Caribou Club membership. Most of our staff has been here since the club opened, and so our owners really rely on them. So it's a place where it feels like home, it lives like a home, but you have access to all those amenities right here. So it's kind of a cross between a hotel experience with people you know and trust and enjoy. You meet other owners here that are like-minded and you make friends. So I do think a fractional buyer is really amenity driven. The other thing, just this is a little off topic, but you know, we don't expect all of you guys to be experts in what the program is at the Timbers Club, what it is at the Ritz. We're here for that. We are all available, have offices in our locations. So if you have a question about what is the Timbers Club, can you rent? You can't at the Timbers Club. Just call Amy or call Ypn, and just know we're here to help you sell our product as well.
That's great. Ypn, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the main thing that the fractional owner, you know, who are they? I mean, obviously, you know, like, and again, when I'm speaking with people, if you just want to buy some extra toys for your toy chest, and we're here to sell something, but most people, the first qualifier is, do I want to be in Aspen more frequently? How often do you come? Where do you go? And then when people start saying, well, I travel here 2 weeks a year, where else do you travel? I'm always looking for where else do they go, because sometimes in the fractional product, it's not just the home base that you own, but a lot of these clubs have, you know, tentacles that go out into the planet, whether it's in another country, whether it's another brand. And a lot of these folks that are buying fractions, instead of investing $5 to $6 million for a townhome at the Highlands and have that one townhome and $60 grand a year in maintenance and taxes and HOA, you know, at the Ritz now, they're literally giving it away. It's 40, 50, 60 grand, you can own the thing, and you pay 17 grand a year in dues, but you're getting your month a year. And some folks say, yeah, well, I want to go to St. Thomas, so they're looking for not just owning in that one location, but having options to go other places. The main thing in a fractional ownership, you have shared ownership. You can't have everything for a tenth of the price. That just doesn't work. So the main thing that I'm always focusing on is trying to over-deliver and under-commit to someone's expectations. But for someone who is flexible and doesn't have to have that one thing every year, and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, The fractional product is gonna be amenity driven, service driven. They don't wanna have to worry about when they leave to think about the thing one more time until they come back. And as much as I'm always listening for someone who says, you know, those townhomes are beautiful, for someone who just wants to come here, check in, have a concierge that did all their arrival details and pre-arrivals and restaurants, and they show up, and then when they leave, out of mind, done. And then they come in, so it's an easy way to own a piece of Ypn Aspen. And one of the things that's important too is like in these clubs, in my own particular experience, I'd say close to 65 or 70% of the people that I've worked with overall were connected to people that came before them. And these folks that buy this, not that they can't afford a $5 million home, they bring people with them. And if you're like a friend to them and a counselor, they will open up their doors to you because they travel with friends and family, and then the sales keep coming in. But they're looking for something easy. Just, I wanna come, I wanna leave, and I wanna think about it when I go. You know, and then of course, housekeeping and, you know, it's like living in a hotel that you just own and you never think about it. So it's simple and easy, and they don't get burdened with long-term maintenance and getting calls from people about a roof leak and stuff like that. Unless they want that, you know.
Oh, right. I guess that leads well into another point. If I can't make it for my time, can I send friends? Can I send business folks? Can I entertain in my, you know, deed, my ownership, I guess?
Yeah, it's probably
How
gonna
does that work?
differentiate property to property. Here at the Timbers Club, it's a 1/8 ownership, so you have 4 planned weeks of use each year. You can send anyone you'd like for those 4 planned weeks. We're private owners and guests of owners, but you can send someone on your behalf. Above and beyond that, you can use the residence as often as it's available. That has to be you, your vertical, your parents, your children, your grandchildren can use it.
Yeah, so we have the one fixed week, you could send anybody there. We also have the ability at any one point in time to have 2 what we would call flex weeks created on the books, and you can send friends or family in that time. And then we also have spontaneous use, and so that's anything inside of 30 days. When you look at a calendar of availability, and one of the things that we're trying to do is in some ways bring the fractional component into the 21st century, where you're able to just look at your phone or go online and see a calendar of availability instead of, you know, picking up the phone and calling somebody or going through like a fantasy football type draft twice a year and, you know, picking out what weeks you might want 6 months from now. And so, yes, you can have friends, family, business partners, whatever, use it. The spontaneous use component, that would be kind of a similar family up, down type of thing.
And stays available. That's great. Ivan?
Yeah, specifically at the Ritz, you know, you own 4 weeks a year, you can use your time, you can trade your time, you could give it to friends, colleagues, business associates, you could donate to a charity. I mean, I've had people that have weeks that went fallow, and I'm like, why are you doing that? Just give it to me and I'll give it to Children's Hospital in Denver, and they'll auction it off, and you do a good thing for somebody. So there's that kind of usage. The per diem, as they call it there, where it's certain, don't advocate that in the busiest times of the year it's gonna be wide open, but this time of year, I mean, someone can come in there and camp out between now and the beginning of December or mid-December and never leave, and they pay a stipend rate of about $300 a night. They allow that privilege to the direct line, parents, grandparents, children and siblings, and it's not exclusively at the club they own, but all the clubs in that network have the same privilege. So you can have a mother-in-law in St. Thomas while you're over here, and they pay the per diem over there. So there's a lot of different benefits, you know, that come with it. A lot of things in the fractional, it doesn't do everything, but there's a lot of things it does that people aren't aware of, and those become big selling points. Even in the fraction where we're at, somebody can own 28 days, and I've seen it where they took all 28 days and they came out for 1 week, and they occupied 4 residences in one stay. And they stacked all the time. So year to year, it's very malleable depending on what you're trying to do.
That's great. Okay, my next question. Could you speak to some trends that you are seeing in this market?
Yeah, I mean, I think we see it in general real estate too, where people are moving away from ranches or family compounds in remote areas, right? People now want to be urban. They want to have a smaller lock and leave is important. We're seeing that also in fractionals, and people are more environmentally conscious. They don't want to buy a home that's going to sit empty for, if they're going to use it 6 weeks, it's going to sit empty for the remainder of the time. So I think fractionals are speaking to people and how they're using their vacation homes these days. Millennials want to own smaller places in multiple areas. They don't want their parents' big family house up in the Divide anymore. They want to have something they can just go for a week at a time. So I think we're going to see, it's been a little bit of a lull in fractional sales, but I really think we're going to see it turn back around toward this because it's what today's consumer is looking for.
So we talk some about kind of the sharing economy, and it's something that permeates not just real estate, but a lot of things. And within that, we've seen it with our whole ownership residences, a real tendency to buy and rent, whereas 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people would just buy their home, and heaven forbid you let anyone besides yourself into that home. And that's, for some people they still do that, but I'd say as a trend, that's a thing of the past. And so from a whole ownership perspective, we've tried to facilitate rentals and have companies that do that in the valley. And then from a fractional perspective and from a whole ownership perspective, but really with the fractional, we've talked about ease of entry in terms of buying something, ease of use in terms of how you're using it. When you show up at the airport, you have transportation, everything's taken care of. You have a ski locker room, it's ski in, ski out. It's just as easy as it could be. And then the important part with fractional as well is ease of exit, where a lot of times you'll see projects, and Ivan's been a part of one of them, East West has been a part of one of them in Tahoe, where the fractions will be trading on literally pennies on the dollar of what people paid for them. And we are doing something a little bit differently with how we're structuring our fractions in a way that you can put them back together. So if I own one and 14 other people own one with me in a condominium, we can vote after 10 years if, for whatever reason, 2008 happens again and the fractional market's in the tank, we can vote to convert our fractions into a whole ownership residence and sell it. And so we're not stuck with a fractional residence forever. And so that's something where we're doing that. We're also trying to obviously facilitate a second market, a secondary market, a resale market of the fractional ownership component. So just those things we're trying to accomplish, the ease of entry, use, and exit with sort of a trend of what people would want.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Easy in, easy out. Ivan?
Yeah, trend-wise, because this has been going on now since, really, I think the Ritz opened in February of '01. It's a long time ago, So there was a heyday where it was like a brand new thing and a lot of sizzle and gotta get one, and then it kind of peaked. And then of course in '08, '09, '10, the market just got obliterated. The Ritz was a unique property that there's so many residents, there's so many members there, there's 876 interests in this club. So we have a club that has 200, the effects are dramatically different when there's almost 900 members there. I think at that time they had about 100 members that didn't care that they paid 200 grand. They just didn't want to pay 15 grand next year because they couldn't. And then the market got pretty saturated with sales when nobody was buying anything, and the numbers never really recovered from that. But in terms of the trend of the actual buyer, there's some members I've talked to where, like right now, the product that the Ritz has is really good for a lot of retirees or people that are on they're not confined to just school holidays. And And we have some fixed products there where it's tailored to, you need President's Week, you need the last week in March, and you need whatever, 4th of July. There's a sample of that. There's a lot of them though that, the way it's run now, people that are flexible and said, anytime June, July, or August, or September, I'll just show up. And again, at the numbers that they have at the Ritz now, I'm not proud of the numbers they've got, but in some way the members kind of drilled into it. I'd say something you and I spoke about, which I was never an advocate for. They allow members to rent their weeks, and that, in my own opinion, that drove prices down because members that were renting basically told the buyer, you don't have to worry about owning it, I'll just rent it to you. And so we're trying to figure out how to get a handle on that, but I don't know what's ever going to happen. But trends, some of the members that I've talked to said, we love it, but it's 18 years later and our kids don't want to be in Aspen 4 weeks a year, and they can't afford the dues, and then they can't do it. So, but I think the fractional market got, and not just the Ritz, but even big companies like Exclusive Resorts got beat up, and they branched out into other things because they had a land trust and they got killed when the market fell apart. But I think, now that the market's recovered, for the most part, you might see a regeneration of that. I think Pete's company's idea of doing the 15th, which will, a lot of times are down to 2 weeks a year. Maybe the, people that are kids that don't want to be here 5-6 weeks a year, because they want to really globetrot and move around. But if it's just Ritz specifically, people that are not confined to school holidays who want to be in Aspen maybe 2 or 3 weeks a year, maybe go to St. Thomas a week, maybe go to Vail, and then it's a good fit for them, as long as they're not confined to, I have to be here on a given week. It's kind of a more flexible.
That's great. My last question is, what is something you wish more realtors knew about your product? Cory?
I think fractionals can be daunting, just because every program is different. It's a lot of information to know. So I just want you to know that I'm here. And please use Amy as resources to help your clients understand how something like the Timbers Club could be a good fit for them.
I guess I would just say that we are incredibly fortunate to have an absolutely amazing product over at Base Village, and if you haven't been into any of the residences yet, go check it out. We have the best sales team you could possibly have.
Hey!
You guys are amazing, including you all. And we do, so like one of the things we do is we try to embrace the brokerage community as much as we possibly can, and you all are our partners in this project, and we would not have success without you. And so if there's anything that you ever need or questions or anything, we have a whole ownership sales team. We will have a fractional sales team as well once we kick this product off in early December, and we're pretty excited about it. And so if you haven't been there, check it out and keep helping us beat the drum. Thanks.
Yeah, even though I don't work for the Ritz-Carlton anymore, even though I was the managing broker, just being a broker with Sotheby's, the Ritz-Carlton, regardless of what it did financially over the last number of years, I probably helped over 450 people own in that place, and some of them are my greatest friends in the world, more so than people I grew up with. The property itself is stunning. It's nicer than when I started 18 years ago. The staffing is amazing, and I still hear day to day, there's always people that are, for lack of a better word, are gonna bitch and moan about no matter what how it's not perfect enough. But I'd say 90% of the members in there, they raise their families there, they ski in and ski out on probably one of the best mountains. Not Snowmass is great, I'm just an Islands fan. But you literally walk out the building, you're on the mountain, and to own anything close to that, you have to own a $6 million townhome or a $15 million home on the mountain. And literally walk out of this place owning it for 30, 40, 50, 60 grand, flat out, and you're done. Most people can't decorate their living rooms for that money on the home that they're buying this home next to us. So for someone who's really just trying to get a foot in Aspen, if you need not to call it a drop product, but someone just not ready to make a big leap into a multi-million-dollar investment, maybe you need to understand why you need to be in Aspen more. And maybe this is an easy way to do it. And what's the downside? Like, I was selling these things at 400 grand, at 300 grand across the board. Now they're missing zeros at the back. There's no downside. I mean, even if it goes to zero, you're out of 20 grand, that's it. And you still own a phenomenal A-plus property in an A++ location. And the main thing is it gets them into Aspen. I mean, the dues are $600 a night. What are you gonna say to Nell in a 2-bedroom suite for $2,500 a night and rent 3 of them? You could be out of $7 grand a week. This is, for a month it's 15, 16, 17 grand. And I know, well, I thought there was a member here, he's gone. Yeah, just a phenomenal property, and they've got their act dialed in, and it's really a 1 degree of separation place on the world. Everybody there, you're one person away from knowing everybody in the world. It's just an interesting place. And I know a few things about it, so that's good.
How amazing was that?
That was great.
Right?
So good.
Oh my God. All right, we'd like to take just a few questions. Does anyone have any questions?
Got one. Just to set the table, it'd be interesting, since we've got 3 experts here, to just quickly get an overview of what your product is. How many bedrooms, how many bath, and what kind of the rough price range is, and what the ownership fraction is.
Okay. So here at the Timbers Club, it's a 1/8 ownership. We have 36 3-bedroom residences, 3 bathroom. They're about 2,000 square feet in size. A 1/8 ownership equates to 2 weeks in the winter, 2 weeks in the summer, unlimited space available, short notice time. Right now we have 5 fractions on the market, priced from $275,000 up to $350,000, even though they're all selling the same thing.
And so we have 11 residences in building 8 of the One Snowmass project, 3 2-bedroom residences, 5 3-bedroom residences, and 3 4-bedroom residences that are in the fractional program. And they will range in price. The 2 bedrooms will be anywhere from $100,000 to $450,000. The 3 bedrooms will probably be $150,000 to $600,000, and the 4 bedrooms will be $200,000 to $800,000 or $900,000.
And why such a big spread?
So we're selling the 15 kind of ski weeks through winter. And it's a great question.
And it's a
And
huge spread.
it is a huge spread. And Christmas and New Year's weeks and President's Day and just some of these weeks that we think about are in huge demand. And when you look at a hotel rate, it's reflective of that, or if you're renting a condo somewhere or a home somewhere. And so that's why you have that variability, although the program that we set up outside of that one fixed week is all the same. And so for a drive-to market like Denver, or just somebody who wants to use and wants to get in at a more affordable price, we think that some of those non-Christmas New Year's weeks are an amazing deal.
So you can buy specific weeks at yours. It's not like fantasy
and
football.
that is
whatever. You can
that
always
is
buy
something
Christmas.
that we've done on purpose.
Okay.
Because a lot of almost all of the other projects in the valley that are new product are of the type where you basically have a rotating priority, and on an annual basis you might be able to pick Christmas one year, but then the next year it might be 8 years until you can get it again. So that's kind of why we're going in a different direction, to try to be able to tap someone who wants to buy something other than already exists on the market.
And that seems like that'll open up your buyer pool a lot.
That's what we're hoping for.
Are the units specific to the ownership, or do they trade? I know at the Ritz they are.
Yeah,
but
so you will.
Here they're not.
Correct.
Right.
Here you'll have a deed to a specific residence, but you have the ability to use them all.
Yeah, so you'll have a deed to a specific residence, and that is one of the things that differentiates sort of just a fraction from a timeshare. But other than your one fixed week where you will be in the residence that you bought, you can see a calendar of availability for your residence or any other, or sort of the combined pool of, for instance, 3-bedroom residences that you could book for flex time.
Question, so if I didn't buy the Christmas week
Mhm.
in your case,
Yeah.
cause I'm more accustomed to a snaking priority system where 1 year you get Christmas, 8 years you get Christmas. So if I didn't buy your premium week, I could possibly still have access to that.
Yeah,
Is
so
that-
one of the things that we'll do, you can, as an owner, you can decide to put a fixed week back into the pool of
Mhm.
availability for owners, or you could rent it. And so before it goes out to the general market as a rental, we will make it available to the owners themselves, so that if I want Christmas week, I have an opportunity to do that. And then we'll also create, we have this technology piece that's part of the ease of use, where you can look online in the calendar of availability. We'll also, in the technology piece, have kind of like a forum where you can say, you know what, I have Christmas week, I'm not coming this year, and, kind of try to cultivate that group of owners, knowing one another and talking with one another. And so that's something that we're gonna do to try to facilitate trade of weeks among the owners as well.
Okay.
So like, would a 2-bedroom owner be able to get into a 3-bedroom unit in that calendar of availability? Or is it just 3s and 3s, 2s and 2s, 4s and 4s?
Yeah, so what the latter of that, so basically the question was, if I own a 2-bedroom, can I stay in a 3-bedroom? And the answer is, if you rent it, yes, but not within the kind of flex booking program. So the 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and 4 bedrooms are specific to themselves. Yeah, it's a good question.
Can you guys talk about your dues on each of the projects?
The dues here at the club are $16,000 a year, and that includes everything except your housekeeping. So each week you come, you'll pay housekeeping, which is $290 a week. But that dues covers all of your transportation, ski valet service, everything you see here at the club. So we're all in. It's also has a capital reserve fund. So when anything needs to be done here, we just did a $6 million refresh of the interiors. That was all already accounted for. We didn't have to do any special assessments, and our reserve fund still has about $3 million in it. So very, very healthy club.
So our dues are probably about half of what they are in a lot of other fractional product, just because we've tried to pull some of the things that we thought are not essential out. Like housekeeping, we have housekeeping on a weekly basis and not a nightly basis, where if you go to like Dancing Bear or something, they probably have something to the extent of turn down service that you pay for, even if you don't want it. And so you can a la carte get that if you want it, but if you think about $50 a square foot versus about $100 a square foot for a 3-bedroom, we think our dues are somewhere in the neighborhood of $7,000, $8,000, $7,000 a year. And obviously it's for a smaller fraction. Right, and so for a 3-bedroom, they're around $7,000 a year. For a 2-bedroom, they're around $6,000, and for a 4-bedroom, they're around $8,000 or $9,000. So on a nightly basis, 2 bedrooms about $270, 3 bedrooms $330, 4 bedrooms like $430. And when you think about that, one of the things when you talk about trends, you talk about kind of ongoing value. You have to evaluate, can I rent something for cheaper than I can own my fractional for on an annual basis? And am I paying more in dues than I am for just renting something? And so we've paid attention to that and tried to create a value proposition on a trip by trip basis, so that you aren't sitting there, even if you've only paid $40,000 for something, you don't have $17,000 of annual dues, and you're like, do I really want to kind of carry this every year. And that's honestly why a lot of fractional values go down quite a bit over time. One of the reasons.
Ivan, dues?
Yeah, I'll also answer the earlier question too. So the Ritz has for those who aren't familiar with, there's a variety of programs in there trying to back into, because not everybody's like looking for one thing. So we have some fixed where people needed to have isolated weeks. And albeit they could exchange those at different time periods, those who needed Christmas or New Year's or President's Week or a certain week in March, they were able to buy that. This is a complete resale operation now, so it's based on what's available. So there are some fixed weeks like that. There are a variety of programs that, this was around a straight 4-week-a-year program, where you're getting 4 weeks a year, 28 days a year. And it's designed also in different modules where some people are more hooked into the summer, where they want to be here 2 or 3 weeks a year in the summer, enjoy it, and maybe ski for a week. And there's other people that just, I want to ski 60 days a year, and they can buy a whole bunch of winter memberships. So we have memberships that are designed to tailor towards seasonal preferences, flexible schedules, non-flexible schedules, so that's in there. The dues are about $16,000 to $17,000 a year for, depending on whether you're a 2 or 3 bedroom. It's about 2/3 of it's 3 bedrooms, and the other portion is 2 bedrooms. But there are 73 residences on property, so it's, again, that's where the 876 math comes into. The dues are all encompassing. It's also a reserve fund. I've been there again since 2002, and I've seen 2 refurbishments. And they're $5 to $6 million refurbs where they do a complete internal and common element refurbishment. It's pre-accrued, so there are haven't been any additional assessments since we've been there. There's no extra services for housekeeping. Everything's drilled in. Because of the branding with Ritz-Carlton, that's part of the protocol. So whether it's daily housekeeping twice a day, refurbishment, drivers, valet, ski valet, saunas, spas. The only thing you don't pay for, you do have to pay for it to come in. They have a pre-provisioning service where if you want your groceries purchased, they go out and buy it for you, and the company does that. So there's a service charge for that. But it's a once-a-year billing, and that's the amenities. So, but the dues are just one time a year, and it runs about $600 a night for your dues.
And the one thing that it's across the board here is that there are reserves, and so basically there are reserves for all the furniture, because if you just think about, you're buying a residence or into a pool of residences that you do not directly have control over, saying I want a new couch, and so you can't just go out and buy a new couch, and so you have to, as a collective, pay in on an annual basis into a reserve fund to be able to refresh the common areas, to be able to refresh all of the furniture, FF&E, OS&E in the residences on, maybe an 8-year rotation with some of that stuff. 8-9-year rotation, and so you're paying for that in a way that you wouldn't necessarily pay for it if you owned a home, but at some point in time you're going to refresh your home. So that's some of what drives those dues.
Yeah, as well as cost of management and service and electricity and gas and roofs and the gamut, because this is a complete physical structure. And I've seen so much work on in our place since we've been there, whether it's railings or exterior changes and roofing. So you're paying, because you own it. You're not just renting a hotel room, you own the property collectively. So there is that reserve fund to do for that.
Great. Do we have any other questions? Okay, so for me, my biggest takeaway is this really is a product where you can come, drop your bags, and all you have to do are go make memories, which I think is like a very beautiful thing. So that for me is my biggest takeaway, and I just want to say thank you all so much.
Thank you.
This has been
Well
so
done.
good.